This is the rarest camera I own, and it may be the coolest camera you've never heard of, even though it does kinda suck. This is the Balda Super Pontura, an obscure medium format camera that was way ahead of its time. This pre-war relic was manufactured by Balda in Dresden, Germany from 1938 to 1939. So just don't think about it too much. Anyway, the Balda Super Pontura checks a lot of boxes for a camera that's almost 90 years old. It shoots a 6:9 image on 120 medium format film, and you can put in this cute little mask to shoot 6:4:5, effectively doubling the number of shots per roll from 8 to 16. But I already got a 6:4:5 camera, so no thanks. So it's a 6:9 folding grandpa camera. Big whoop, who cares? Well, it's got a rangefinder, which is dope because most old grandpa cameras were scale focus only, which means you pretty much just guess your focusing distance. But not with the Super Pontura, no sirree Bob. This thing's got a top of the line coupled rangefinder with automatic parallax correction. But it still kinda sucks. Let me explain. You see, unlike some super fancy pants Leica or Fuji, this rangefinder ain't some super bright patch in the middle of a big ol' sexy viewfinder. Instead, it's a totally separate window on the other side of the camera, and
it's super tiny.
And instead of a rangefinder patch, it's split in two halves. The bottom half is all yellowy, and the top half is all non-yellowy. So as you focus the camera with this nifty little lever thingy, the non-yellowy top half moves side to side, and if it all lines up with the yellow parts, you're in focus. So what's it like shooting this thing? Well, to find out, I loaded up a roll of Tri-X and headed out to shoot my favorite subject, the rusted out Chevy in our junkyard. Okay, first you gotta meter the scene, then set your shutter speed and aperture. This particular model has a 100mm f3.8 lens, mounted in an upgraded Compor rapid shutter with speeds all the way up to 1/400, while other models top out at 1/250. Anyway, with your settings dialed in, next you pull focus with that teensy little rangefinder. And now to frame up your shot, you gotta switch over to the viewfinder. Usually at this point, I hate the frame, so I move around until I like what I'm seeing. Then I gotta go back to the rangefinder and pull focus again since I moved around. After a few rounds of that, all you gotta do is cock the shutter with this little doohickey, fire away, and would you look at that? This here is my first ever 6:9 medium format frame, and there's definitely a ton of detail. Almost too much. I might as well have shot digital, cause where's the grain? I mean, here's a stray hair, so that's kinda neat. By the way, if you wanna know how I scan my film, check out this episode where I show how I camera scan using my Sony a7 III and the Essential Film Holder.
Essential!
The Essential Film Holder is the best, most value-packed, and affordably priced film holder on the planet. It works perfectly for 35mm and medium format, all for just $83, shipping included. Affiliate link below. Anyway, with the first shot jitters out of the way, I framed up another easy target, the mini windmill in our front yard. And yeah, kinda neat. I like how the slow shutter speed smeared the blades and made them kinda transparent looking. Okay, that's enough dicking around the ranch. Let's hit the road. First stop, this busted ass food stand that we drive past all the time. And here you go. I mean, I feel like I'm wasting frames here, but it's a dilapidated building on black and white film. What more could you want? How about a close-up? Yeah, I think I like that one more, but there's a problem. It looks like I'm in focus, but then you punch in real close and it's not exactly tack sharp. Looks like camera shake. Which sucks, because what's the point of having a high-res 6:9 negative if all the fine details get smudged together because you got shaky hands that can't hold still for 1/50th of a second? For example, here's the 35mm shot that Sarah took on Fuji 400, and it looks good. Kinda makes me wonder why I even bother shooting medium format. Anyway, let's see if we can bounce back from that blurry mess. Next up, we got this junk car at an undisclosed location in Kerrville, Texas. And there we go. I mean, it ain't groundbreaking, but it ain't blurry either. So that's a win. Anyway, at this point, I was tired of shooting cliche film photography garbage frames. So now it's time for some people pictures. Folding cameras. They were never meant for doing portraiture, but here we go. Okay, so I got that there. And it's gonna look at Sarah, and we're gonna have this happen to Sarah. Here's her face, blasted with light. So yeah, I wanted to see how well this thing could take a portrait, but with the teensy little rangefinder window and this thing awkwardly mounted vertically with an L bracket, it was a little hard framing up a shot. So after fiddling around forever, I swapped places and had Sarah take a shot of me. And there you go. we got some tones, but look at all that headroom. So even after fiddling around for like 20 minutes, we still weren't able to get a perfect comp. Plus, I'm blurry. Looks like my shirt's more in focus than my face. So all in all, the Super Pontura ain't exactly my go-to camera for studio portraiture. Anyway, after 7 shots of Tri-X, that's 1 roll down. And I know you might be thinking, wait a second, 6x9 gets 8 shots per roll. You only showed us 7.
What are you trying to hide?
Well, let me explain. This is the film advance knob, and it's completely independent from the shutter cocking mechanism, so you can just keep turning it forever and ever until you've run out of film. So the only way to know when you've advanced enough to get to the next frame is you gotta open this little window in the back and line up a number that's on the backing paper. So if you take a shot, then advance to the next frame and put this thing on a shelf and wait a couple of days, sometimes you forget. So anyway, I ended up skipping frame 3 because I couldn't remember how many shots I'd taken, so I just advanced to frame 4 to make sure I didn't accidentally double expose. Like I kinda ended up doing at the next location, 1,000 miles from home. That's foreshadowing. Let's get some pancakes.
I want tacos.
More tacos? Okay, so here we are at a cool-ass location in Arizona that we stopped at on our way to shoot street photography in Las Vegas. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see that episode eventually. What happens in Vegas goes on YouTube. Anyway, this was actually our second time at this old abandoned pancake house / Taco Bell Express. First time was back in 2022 during our month-long trip down Route 66. But this time I got me a 90-year-old grandpa camera full of Kodak Gold and light leaks. It's full of light leaks. I mean, it looks kind of cool, like the sky's on fire or whatever. Plus, look at that, I finally nailed focus. Either that or I'm just so far away in focus to infinity that it just looks in focus. Let's get closer and try again. Meh, looks okay, but when you punch in, it's not out resolving the grain, which makes me think either the rangefinder needs calibrating or I'm just the worst photographer. Nah, it's gotta be the rangefinder. Anyway, next I wheeled around to the other side of the property for a wide shot of the actual fort of Fort Courage, which I assume got its name because you gotta be brave to eat some Taco Bell pancakes. And bingo, this one's pretty dope. I mean, at least I think so. Let me know what you think in the comments below. But yeah, once again, I either nailed focus or I just backed up enough to hide the blur. To find out, here's another angle. And yeah, disregard the overlapping frames for a second, looky here. Definitely not as sharp as the last shot, but don't worry, I took it again, and this one's actually in focus. Plus, I kinda like the light leak, it makes it look like the tower's on fire. Anyway, next we tried framing up a shot of these shoes that were just propped up perfectly as if homie just got raptured at the pancake house. And yeah, this is the other half to that overlapped frame from before. And this is what really sucks about not having a modern film advance system with hard stops. Not only do you sometimes forget whether you've advanced the film, but sometimes when the camera jiggles around in your bag, it turns the advance knob by a few clicks. Then, after you take a shot and open up the window to advance the film, you don't see a number in the window. So now you got no way of knowing how many times to turn that crank for the next frame. Anyway, I realized I had probably overlapped those frames while I was there, so here's the second shot of those shoes without the overlap. And it's cool and all, but still, it's not perfectly in focus. I feel like I can't focus on anything but infinity with this camera. After the overlapping frame snafu, going forward, I've been putting a piece of blue tape over the knob like so to keep the camera from advancing itself in transit. So those were the only shots I took with the Super Pontura on our Southwest US trip. So be sure to ring that bell icon if you want to see the rest of our Southwest US vlog. We go from Roswell to Albuquerque and meet Ethan Moses, Mr. Cameradactyl himself. We go to Vegas, and then on the way back, we hit up White Sands where we get caught in a sandstorm. It's kind of a nightmare. Anyway, after getting back home, I still had one shot left. So to kill off that roll of Kodak Gold, I had Sarah take this quirky portrait of me holding a pineapple, and didn't turn out that good. I have no idea what happened. The negative looks like this, like we overexposed the heck out of it. So yeah, I don't know. Leave a comment below if you think you know what we did wrong. So that's 2 rolls down, and I only got a couple of okay shots. So what now? Well, there's something I've always wanted to try. Something that, in my opinion, is just about the coolest thing you can do with a 6x9 camera. I'm talking sprocket hole panos. Wow. In case you didn't know, sprocket hole photography is when you take 35mm film and load it in a camera that's supposed to shoot on bigger film formats. That way you're exposing the entire width of the film, including the sprocket holes. So if you do that in a 6x9 camera, you get a super wide aspect ratio, like a janky DIY XPan. So how do you get this to fit in this? Well, 2 ways. The easy way and the right way. First up, the easy way. Get yourself a set of these 35mm to 120 film adapters. They snap into the top and bottom of the 35mm can like so. Now the canister is the same height as a roll of medium format film, and you can just pop it in the camera like a roll of 120. Anyway, this method works fine, but you gotta make sure not to open up the little frame counter window on the back of your camera. Otherwise, you will ruin your film. Also, there's another problem with the easy way. You end up with inconsistent frame spacing. Look at those gaps. This 36 exposure roll of Pro Image 100 only gave me 11 frames, wasting about half the roll. So what if you don't want to waste a crap ton of film? Well, then you gotta do it the right way. But it's kind of a pain in the ass. What I ended up doing was taking an empty spool and backing paper from a roll of 120. Then I taped some 500T on the backing paper and rolled it back up. Sounds easy enough, but try doing that in a dark bag. Anyway, with that done, I could just load it and shoot it like a normal roll of 120. And it worked! The spacing stayed consistent, and we got 8 frames out of a length of film that was about half as long as that wasteful 11 exposure roll. Well, here's some more Sprocket hole panos that me and Sarah took around the ranch. Posing for Sarah. What a happy boy. By the way, I know the color looks kind of funky on these shots of 500T. I think it's because I gotta mix up a new batch of C41 chemicals. I'm over 20 rolls deep in this batch that I mixed up over 2 months ago. And I know I kind of glossed over the ins and outs of Sprocket hole photography, so let me know down below if you want a dedicated, in-depth how-to Sprocket hole video. So, what did I learn from this big old grandpa camera? Well, the Balda Super Pontura taught me that bigger ain't always better. Or maybe I should just get myself a Texas Leica. Thank you, Internet. I'm Nick. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Thank you so much. Thank you. Like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell icon, turn on all notifications, or go to madebylopro.com today to check out my merch or give what you can to help support the channel. Join LoPresti Army, get your name at the bottom of the screen, and help make analog fun again. If you're still watching, say Balda Eagle. Thank you guys so much. I got a lot of editing to do. Balda Eagle, B-A-L-D-A. Thank you, bye.